Take 3 from lack of breathing ability. Here we go. North Taiwan, calling itself China, thinks it's an independent country, but really it's just a colony of Taiwan. But they're being very nice about it. The People's Republic of China versus the Sovereign Republic of China or something like that, right? Calling China North Taiwan pisses off a lot of people who say, well, we're obviously an independent country, but Taiwan is belonging to us because they have almost no influence over them. Might makes right. And then there's Ukraine. Oh, there go the bots flagging my video for hate speech. Yeah. On YouTube, facts are whatever the largest mob decide it is, or the bot. The bot being, is it chaotic, good, neutral, or evil? I don't know. It's definitely chaotic something. In 2001 to 2011, a meme was born on the internet out of necessity. The reason for questioning a country's sovereignty is almost always to ignore their ability to rule or have influence or have the ability to actually enforce laws. Gordan, Comstock, James Montgomery, the Ministry of Truth, an actual website deciding to call itself that, all deciding the United States is still a British colony and willing to produce all the evidence you want, but you have to sit through not 2 hours of videos. No, they did it by doing wall of text, telling you all the advantages of just deciding the United States is still a British colony. The U.S. isn't a current British commonwealth or colony. Most of the former colonies, at one time or another, are part of the commonwealth, or not, depending on who you talk to. In the 1980s, the United Kingdom used to be called the 51st state of the USA because our influence over that independent country was so intense that it really irked people. Did the USA fail to fulfill any terms of any treaty or debt or anything else you can dig up out of any paperwork so that they're legally still a colony of any country or belonging to the Vatican or any other meme you want to come up with that you want to yell at the top of your lungs in a courtroom to try to prove to the court that you don't have to pay your parking ticket? Yes, it's sovereign citizen bullshit. It's tax evasion, tax cheat, tax protester, what do you want to call them? It's people deciding might makes right, but bullshit works, and just repeating a lie over and over again in court with a straight face. Laws are what we decide they are. If we decide tomorrow that it's illegal for Donald Trump to run for president just because we don't like him, we as a people can decide to ban him from ever running for any office or making it illegal to ever post anything about him ever again so that he falls into obscurity. We can officially treat him like, a former emperor and break the noses off of all of the statues if we want to, but that doesn't change the reality. And that's kind of what this is about. It's the consequence of, if I invalidate the United States government, I don't have to pay taxes. That's really where this came from. Yes, in less than 3 minutes and 45 seconds, I've explained where this meme came from. The United States isn't a colony for simply one reason, and it has nothing to do with fulfilling treaties or anything else. It's that every country that would have the ability to make a claim to the United States, its territories, assets, anything, is allowed to go ahead and do so, whether it's valid or not, and hasn't. And therefore, if you can hold your peace for 1 year, nobody's made a claim to say that they own the United States. There's at least one schmuck every year that goes to the court and says, I'm the king of America or whatever, or the king of the planet, or the king of Mars, and demands to be recognized. And of course they're told no. Why? Because the majority of us, or all of us really, don't acknowledge you. Putin is not in charge of the Ukraine. And China has no real control over Taiwan. Whether they like that or not is not relevant. Seething under their panties, needing to go after Taiwan. And Taiwan pays attention to them like a weird ex-girlfriend by mentioning that, no, they are the real China. That's why I call China North Taiwan. 1783, April 15th, Congress ratified preliminary articles of peace instead of war, ending the Revolutionary War with Great Britain by that point, and kind of slackened it off. By September 3rd, ambassadors of the colonies, each individual one, because of the way they'd been established originally by Great Britain, and other nations' representatives and ambassadors, all met in Paris, a neutral location, to sign a treaty called the Treaty of Paris. It recognized the colonies and every part thereof, period, full stop, everything, as being free, granting them independence from and no longer being part of or associated with or as a colony or colonies or of Britain. Great Britain, whatever you wanted to call it at the time. And set the boundaries for North America between the British Empire, the United States of America, that has just been formed by that action, and of course their act of declaring a war, and other things like Spain and who knows what else, claiming various territories. France got in there too, I'm sure, somewhere. It set the boundaries and addressed restoration of property and prisoners of war back to where they belonged, so everything would be no debts, and set fishing rights, and also did something very important. In all of these, they set a time limit, beyond which, even if it's not resolved, it's over. There's no argument. You have to leave the continental United States if you're a British soldier or citizen for X number of years or months to make it confirmed. All interaction is over, unless you've gotten special permission. It kind of fades away, these things. Please remember the United States wasn't really owned by anybody. I mean, it was Native Americans. It was taken from them. And please continue believing anything you wish. New Hampshire, Massachusetts Bay, Rhode Island, Providence Plantations, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Separate peace treaties between Great Britain and other nations that supported America's cause were also signed. France, Spain, the Dutch Republic, etc. They're known collectively as Peace of Paris, not a piece of it. Quantum grammar Nazis will immediately say peace. Well, we need to misinterpret that and dismantle it and come up with it saying George Bush somehow. They'll literally do that. They'll find some way to make a mathematical equation out of it. But that was it. And yeah, what if, during all of this, the United States or Britain failed to meet some condition to finalize the process? That really did happen. Does that invalidate anything? No. They agreed to the whole thing that it would just be worked out or there wouldn't be any argument. It would just be dropped. Well, what about this ship that's left in your bay? If you want it, you have to come get it. Well, we can't. Then it's ours. It's now ours. That's it. Same thing if we left something out in the sea, free to take. The idea is to have a complete clean break. No dangling little issues. Separate peace treaties between all of the other countries also included the same kind of concepts. This isn't the first time countries have gone to war and agreed to peace and also chopping up the assets and or returning people. And then having a break period, or not, where people could go ahead and leave. People could leave Great Britain and go to America, and vice versa if they wanted to. There were a lot of loyalists that wanted to go back to Britain. Some of the articles of the treaty were superseded. U.S. borders changed in later years. Some of them decided to do completely different agreements on the same subject matter because it was advantageous to both, and they decided to change their own interaction. The United States and Great Britain decided, yeah, we made this agreement, we've completed it, but we'd like to undo it because it's to our advantage. Okay. It was very generous towards the United States because Britain really didn't have the ability to control much over here. Well, unless you look at the map. They had a whole bunch of the rest of the continent to go mess with. There's that little chunk north of us. There are lots of, Canada? So, they're the ones where their heads flip open and you killed Kenny. But anyway, Article number 1 of the treaty, the one that acknowledges the free, sovereign, and independent existence of the United States as a state, as a country, is the only part that remains in force from the original agreements. All of the others were superseded, dissolved, or were declared invalid anymore because a new treaty had been signed that would give more benefit back and forth. We have treaties as a country with lots of countries. And so many of them that retaining the original agreement, it'd be like you sitting around saying, well, I had a car when I was 20 and I'm going to go find it and tell somebody I still own it because I still have a copy of the paperwork. But no, you relinquished that. That's the deal. Well, I want it back and I've got a piece of paper. That's not how it works. You can't wave a treaty around from the 1800s that was specifically superseded and acknowledged by both parties. That agreement's over with. But I want to get out of my parking ticket. And that's where this goes back to tax protesters and tax cheats saying, well, I want to argue this point that has nothing to do with my case. I want to invalidate the taxes in Massachusetts. That's where this comes from. The U.S. isn't a British Commonwealth member, a former colony. It is, yes. It is not currently a colony. It's not run by the British Crown or the Vatican or the Jesuits or any other conspiracy theory you come up with, unless you have proof. And it has to be recognized. Literally everyone in this country could just decide that they're not going to pay attention to the rule of law, including the police. Everybody could just decide to do purge. We're going to suspend the laws. Why? We feel like it. There wouldn't even have to be a reason for it. Everybody could spontaneously just stop paying attention to it and start over. And then the lawyers would say, well, we have to do something with these other old rules. Just put in, this rule supersedes all rules before today's date, hour, minute, second, which is exactly how it's done in many areas. Many cities just say, this rule countermands all rules before today's date. We're all going to vote on it. They might have the entire population do it or just the city council. That's how we make rules. We decide to bury the old and go on. And someone wanting to dig up literally the Magna Carta, for instance, and deciding that that's dominant, or everything's based on it, therefore you can't ignore it. Yes, we can. An agreement between two cavemen that one of them said, you can own everything that way of the mountain range, and it happens to include North America, is no more valid than an agreement between the kings and queens, even before this continent existed, in anybody's mind. Everything in the seas and beyond. Well, if the Earth is round, that means you're claiming the entire planet. There are many doctrines and announcements and proclamations by individuals saying that the king controls everything he can find. But if you just keep going far enough west, you'll eventually end up in India, and now you're claiming China and stuff like that, and all that kind of stuff. Oh, that's right, everybody, those people who visited this continent thought it was India, calling it India, not realizing they'd have to run into China and Japan first. Maybe Australia. Anyway, that's why I'm bringing this video up. Someone posted a link to some of these videos and that you'll find out about. Now, I've never heard of Gordan, Comstock, or James Montgomery, or the Ministry of Truth blog. These are all bloggers and people who, well, they wrote books and they're published. No. These are people who set up WordPress pages that I had to go look up in the archives. They're so old that the only thing left of it is one or two videos on YouTube making fun of them for eventually just wandering off and crying in their shit. From 2009 to 2017, State Gov documents, organizations, something PDF. Lots of links down below. But the best one has to be to GordanComstock.com, that isn't around anymore, 2007. 2002, HalfBakery.com, making fun of him. And on and on and on it goes. A website that's still up that has his books that when you click the link doesn't download because he put them up on a data storage place that died years and years ago. We can't even find out how crazy this hole goes. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And if you were looking up the names of these individuals, you found my video. And I don't know that they can talk back to me. You can still find their videos on YouTube. People will find it every once in a while wondering what the hell they're talking about. It's the same old shit. Just like we have to do every time we get on the net when we make fun of North Taiwan.